All right, it looks like the Xbox 2 podcast is finally live after being off the air for a week. What is going on, everybody? I'm one of your co-hosts, Randall Thor 19, and with me, as always, the venerable Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's up, Jez?
Hi, pal. I'm hyped on coffee, and I'm
Yes, 10 cups of coffee was exactly what you said earlier, was it not?
five double espressos, so I count that as 10.
I mean, some people would rather have you like 10 beers deep or 10 shots deep, right?
Yeah. God, I haven't drank alcohol for a few months now. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I'll crack some booze out for maybe our Christmas special. How about that?
Ooh, the Christmas special. So, you said this was the busy week for Windows Central. You got a lot of stuff you're
It's
getting
the
ready to post.
Well, I thought last month was going to be the busy month, but apparently this month's busy as well. So fun times
Mm.
ahead. People buy things around Christmas. Who'd have
You,
thought?
who would have thought people buy stuff for the holidays for their loved ones? Crazy.
Indeed.
Um, I'm not that
Yeah.
busy. I mean, I guess it depends on if I want to make videos or not. I know people start giving me a little crap for not posting my Assassin's Creed Odyssey review yet. That always keeps on slipping my mind.
I keep seeing people tweet about that. What's
I
the
know,
deal with
right?
that, Rand? What are you
I
playing
just
at?
I don't know. Like I wanted to do that a long time ago, and I kept on pushing it back and doing other things. And I mean, I don't know. Does anybody even care about my Assassin's Creed review? I'll just talk about the game and my game of the year list. Do you guys really want me to put out a review for Assassin's Creed Odyssey? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what people say. Maybe I'll just do it just to do it. But you know, it's been an eventful like week or so. I know we didn't do the show last week because, well, it was my fault. I wasn't feeling very good, as Jez knows. But we doing podcast today, and I'd be like, yeah, but then like I'd literally wake up at 9 o'clock because I wasn't feeling good every
Oh,
single day. Like
but
no,
you feel better now, right?
oh, I feel much better now. Yeah,
Good to know, man. Good to know.
I feel way much better. So we're doing the show on the regular day we're supposed to do it. Hallelujah, on a Wednesday, and
Rarely happens.
I know it rarely ever does. We try to shoot for Wednesdays, but something always comes up. Either I can't do it or Jess can't do it. So it's kind of like whatever day we can actually get together and talk about video games. And we do have a lot to talk about. I mean, we did miss last week, so we will be talking about, the Game Awards. Did God of War deserve Game of the Year over Red Dead Redemption 2?
There's a lot of salt about that.
There is. The Outer Worlds. Obsidian's big game was revealed, and that's Microsoft's latest purchase. What does that mean for the game and the franchise? Me and Jez will talk in depth about that. Phil Spencer said some things, and as usual, when he says some things, people get upset, they get angry, they cry, they don't understand. And this time he basically said, hey, Game Pass is coming everywhere, going to every device. Does that mean PlayStation and Nintendo Switch?
Ooh,
I don't know.
bit of a teeth dry. That one, like, ooh.
Will I be playing Halo 6 on my PS5? How about the next Ninja Theory game? We'll talk about that. I don't know if you guys know, but gaming wasn't cool until Ninja and Drake got together, played Fortnite.
Oh, thank God for them. Thank God for them, man.
Thank God. I mean, nobody listened to this podcast. Nobody's ever listened to gaming podcasts. Gaming YouTubers were irrelevant. Nobody. But it was all thanks to Drake.
Who's PewDiePie, man?
PewDiePie? Who's that? Markiplier?
Yeah.
Jacksepticeye?
Who are these people?
I mean, Mario never. Mario didn't sell millions of copies, and nobody's ever heard of Minecraft.
What even is Minecraft?
Drake. Ninja and Drake bringing gaming to the mainstream and making it cool. We'll talk about that, and also like the big battle, like the epic, and that pun intended, battle between Steam and Epic. Like somebody's actually challenging the throne, Jez.
Maybe.
And it ain't Microsoft.
No, it ain't.
It ain't Microsoft, baby. Although,
are you shocked?
No, not at all. Of course, honestly, Microsoft should take their efforts into improving the Windows 10 store and just make a Valve an offer they can't refuse and just buy Steam. Because
Oh,
their window their window strategy is never going to go anywhere ever.
that's mean, man. That's
I
mean.
mean, I'm just telling the truth. Like they can do everything they want. They can say everything they want. They can try to make the Windows 10 store as appealing as they want, but I'm sorry. People have spoken very much like the Windows Phone. People just don't care and don't want to
Oh,
use
thank
your
you. Why'd you
store.
have to bring that?
I'm
Why'd you
bringing
have
it
to
up,
bring
man.
Windows Phone into it, man?
Bringing it
Why'd you
up.
have to do that?
Bringing it up because nobody's gonna care. And I know Microsoft is counting on the growth from Windows and the growth from phones. Just saying, I don't think you're going to see much growth from the Windows store. It's probably just best to cut bait and then offer Valve, $10 billion or something.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that more in depth. I've got some things to add about that.
Yeah.
You might be
So
interested or
a
not
lot
to
of
hear.
topics, to get through. Obviously, we appreciate anybody spending time here with us live. Leave a comment if you have any, thing you want to add, even some topics. I'll be looking through it to, maybe grab some. And I just wanted to make mention that I have a holiday giveaway going on. Did you see this, Jez? I posted it yesterday.
Ooh, I did. I retweeted it.
Thank
Am I allowed to enter?
Yeah, you can enter. I mean, I don't know if you win,
Will you rig it
I'll
for me?
let you. No, I'm not gonna rig
Oh
it for you.
crap! I
So
should have asked off air.
I just threw the link into the chat for everybody watching live. That is the way to enter the giveaway. 3 winners. So there is a grand prize winner. We'll get 1 year of Xbox Live Gold, 1 year of Game Pass, and 50 random Xbox One games. Second place winner will get 30 games and Xbox One games random. And the third place winner will get 20 random Xbox One games. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes or Google Play or wherever, it's on my Twitter. It's also in the description of the video. So I'm sure you guys can find it. It's open to pretty much everywhere except for China. So enter if you guys want the chance to win. Basically, it's like just follow me on Twitter and just subscribe to YouTube. It's pretty easy. So it's just my way of giving back. And maybe I'll do some more little giveaways as the holidays approach. So now that stuff is all out of the way, let's talk about the video games, Jez. Before we get into the topics, I want to actually talk about some video games. And I know nobody wants to talk about Fallout 76 anymore. I know you're playing Fallout 76 all the time, right?
Hey, what?
I mean, it's true.
You didn't even give me the chance to speak about it.
I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about Fallout 76 and why you think people should pick this game up because it's not as bad as literally everybody says on YouTube and elsewhere.
I don't think anyone should pick up this game. What are you talking about?
Oh, what? You changed your mind? I thought you loved this game.
I like it, but I'm not recommending it to anyone because it's broken as hell. I would only recommend it to people like me, as in complete and total masochists. That's the only reason you should ever play this game, is if you enjoy rough bugs and broken games, because that is pretty much what this is all about. Nah, dude, it is so broken. But I am such a sucker for open world survival, like Conan Exiles, those kind of games. I just get addicted to them, man. And I am just addicted to this game. Even though, Rand, I don't think in my entire gaming career I've ever played a game where I encountered a fresh bug every 10 to 15 minutes.
Fresh bug, huh?
Like, seriously, this game has so many bugs in it. It makes, like, Fallout 3 on the PlayStation 3 look polished. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
So I'm in no mind to recommend this game to anyone, but I just like crafting, building, dungeon crawling. I like that stuff, man, especially with friends and stuff. I've been playing it with my family and friends and stuff like that, and on that basis, it's a pretty good game. But that's not all I've been playing, man. That's not all I've been playing.
What else have you been up to outside of Fallout 76 and you wanting to kill yourself because you're playing that game? Outside of Battlefield 5, which we both been playing, and I think we both love the multiplayer. But my God, Jez, what is up with EA? Like that game is like on sale again. It's super cheap. Like that they screwed up so
Yeah.
bad with Battlefield 5. I was looking on the Twitch charts. That game's like not even the top 40. Like nobody's watching
Ooh,
that game on Twitch, which,
really?
releasing a shooter in 2018 without a battle royale mode is instant death.
Well, this is the weird thing you see, right? Because ironically, do you know what game is seeing a little bit of a renaissance right now?
What?
Battlefront 2.
Hmm.
Like they've just released an update for Battlefront 2 and they're teasing more content for it as well. Obi-Wan, Kenobi and Grievous are up on the game and they're teasing new content for 2019. It's almost like they've all moved from Battlefield 5 back to Battlefront 2 and they're trying to salvage that now.
Hmm.
It's a bit weird, but I'm seeing more excitement for Battlefront 2 than Battlefield 5, judging by Reddit right now.
Yeah, I
Um,
know. Shout out to the
it's
Captain
weird.
Redbeard. He has a suggestion for you. He's got a
Oh.
super chat. He says, Jez, you should play Rend if you like survival games.
Ooh,
It's an early
Ren.
access at the moment on the PC.
I've
That
heard
sounds
of
like
that.
something you will like, but definitely not something I will like.
Yeah,
But
I've heard of that actually. I think I'll look into it.
but I know you got a chance to play through a lot of Mutant Year Zero, right?
Yeah, Mutiny Zero. I think that's my game of the moment right now. Again, it's another apocalyptic game. Do you notice a pattern with me?
Yeah,
Every, every,
you tend to like apocalyptic games, and I know the next game after because I want to actually hear a little bit about Mutant Year Zero because I hear it's really good. It's a
it is
game that
surprisingly
launched
good.
into Game Pass, which my lord is Xbox Game Pass killing it this month.
Yeah, some really seriously good games
I
in Game
mean, you
Pass.
have Ashen launching in there day one. You have Kingdom Two Crowns, which just launched into it yesterday. You have the Gardens Between, which launched in like early December, and now you have Mutant Year Zero as well. Below on Friday, Hellblade Ori, Mortal Kombat 10. Like it's
Man,
such a great package, but
it's a good deal.
it is.
It's a great gift to buy someone for Christmas. Like just buy them a card for Game Pass for Christmas.
Yeah, they have all these games to play, but specifically Mutant Year Zero. Now I've heard that it's a XCOM like game.
It's
Uh,
sort of like it's got XCOM like combat, but it's actually closer to an RPG, a very sort of light RPG. Like there's loot to find. I mean, I suppose XCOM has loot as well to some degree. But XCOM has like this management layer where you have to build up your base, you have to like research things and build new equipment and stuff like that. And I suppose Mutant Year Zero has sort of that in a light sort of fashion. But a lot of those systems, which I think some people find tedious, where you're researching stuff and grinding and that, those have been really like dialed back. And instead, what you're left with is sort of like a sort of very light version of XCOM where it's sort of got a bigger emphasis on the turn-based combat and the strategy, and the management systems are stripped back or stripped out completely. And it's more like an RPG. You travel around getting loot and upgrading your armor and your weapons and stuff like that. And yeah, it's like a turn-based tactics game set in a post-apocalypse where some people are inexplicably ducks or pigs or,
Ducks.
or fox people.
So were they
Yeah.
actual people, and then the apocalypse happened, and then
Well,
they were turned
that's
into ducks and pigs?
that's part of the mystery. You see, that's part of the mystery because it takes place in the future, obviously, and the game's set in Sweden, but the people they're like generations into the future. They're not 100% sure what happened in the past. They don't know where they are, what country they're in, or anything like that. They just live in this settlement called the Ark, and they strike out into the radioactive wastelands to find supplies and collect artifacts from the past, who they call the ancients and stuff. It's quite funny, like when you find these old objects from like modern day times. They have like these descriptions on what they think they were for, but they don't know. And you can trade those in for upgrades as well with like an antique collector sort of thing. It's sort of like it's based on a tabletop RPG in Sweden.
So
And
Black Ice wants to know if it's like an arena or do you travel in an open world map?
yeah, so it's like it's kind of similar to Dragon Age Origins in the sense that there's like a world map, and you travel to sort of these sort of quite wide open spaces. It's not open world per se, but it's got like these sort of wide open levels that are sort of have a theme. Like one, I can't remember the name of it now. I think it's something like the Iron Serpent or something, and it's basically like a train yard and like iron serpent, like giant snakes that are trains. They don't know what trains are for, but for them, it just looks like an iron serpent, and those will be full of robots and loot to collect and stuff like that. And there's a story that pushes you through these areas, as you're trying to figure out where this one of the most prominent members of the Ark took some of the best soldiers and has basically gone missing, and the leader of the Ark asked you to go find him basically, and it's a bit of a mystery as to what's happened and what's been going on, and you sort of travel through the game, travel further out, further away from the Ark than anyone's ever been, and just discover this sort of apocalyptic wasteland and
So
all different factions in the game and all that sort of
how
stuff.
long is it? Are we talking like a 30, 40 hour game here? Are we talking kind of like a
I
20,
I
15 to
honestly
20
don't
hour
know.
experience?
I haven't completed it yet. I'm about 20 hours in, and I think I've uncovered about maybe I don't know about a third of the map.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, but the thing is, like, there are a lot of optional areas in the game, kind of like Dragon Age as well. So, like, if you intend to go through and do everything, it'll probably last you a lot longer than if you're someone who's rushing through it. But the thing is, it's also extremely hard. So I think if someone was skipping leveling, they might eventually hit a wall where they have to backtrack and get more upgrades and stuff. But um, there's three difficulty levels. There's normal, hard, and very hard. I was playing on hard mode, but I couldn't hack it. I bumped the difficulty down to normal because it was like, man, this is insanely difficult, and it has all those like percentage based sort of attacks where you can miss.
25% and you miss, or
Yeah,
like XCOM where it was like 90% chance to hit and you
yeah.
miss and
It's a
then
little
you
bit.
die.
Yeah, it's not as punishing as that. It's like there are no 95% or 90%. It's like it goes up in 20 increments of 25. So if you get like a 75% chance to hit, and it's like I'm not satisfied with that, you can try and get closer or get into a flanking position and make it 100% chance to hit. So like on that basis, it's like a little less punishing than XCOM can sometimes be, but it's still pretty annoying when like something crits you and one shots one of your dudes, and also you don't on hard difficulty you don't get your health back after battles, which
Ooh,
makes it very
that
hard.
yeah, that sounds like that because I would assume health kits and health packs are very limited.
Yeah. Yes, they
So yeah,
are. And
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I was like, and they're very expensive. You can buy health kits, but they're really expensive to buy. So like, I just sort of like, I just wanted to get through the game quickly, so I put it down. I put it down to normal mode, so I didn't have to like, and it's still bloody challenging even on normal mode. Um, but it's a really great game. If you've ever enjoyed sort of isometric RPGs like Wasteland or Pillars of Eternity or XCOM, for the turn-based tactic stuff. I think you'll really like Mutant Year Zero, and considering it's on Game Pass, it's really easy to just give it a try. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like at least on Xbox, right? Because I know it's also available on
oh yeah,
PlayStation and the PC. On Xbox, you can be like, well, the game's $40. It's quite expensive. I believe it's $40 at least. In fact, I'm pretty
uh,
sure it's 40. I think it's 39.99. And for someone
yeah,
that's
I'm
for
not
someone
sure.
that's like maybe not into XCOM games, like turn-based strategy, they might look at that price and be like, I don't know. That's a lot of money. I gotta buy gifts for the family. But if you have
Yeah,
Game Pass, it's like just download the game and play it, right? And that's how like a game that me and you both played, Ashen, kind of also works. Where it's like, I'm not necessarily the biggest Dark Souls fan in the world, right? But I was interested in checking out the game because I could play it in co-op. That was kind of one of the defining features of Ashen, was that, like, hey, you can play it in co-op. So I mean, I beat the game. I played it like entirely in co-op pretty much. Um except for the parts where you can't connect. And I had a good time playing it. Like I put out an impressions video after like 7 hours of play on Friday. And like pretty much exactly what I said in that video is exactly what I ended up feeling towards the end. The co-op's great. Like I don't know, like for those, the friend just elevates the experience to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like going around the corners and fighting all these enemies and working out strategies between you and your buddy was just so much fun. And I don't know, like I think if I would have played Ashen solo, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much.
I think
You know what I
that's
mean?
because I've played Ashen too. Like I haven't completed it yet, so no spoilers, please. Not
No,
that
I'm
the
not. I'm
not
not
that
going to
it's
spoil
story heavy,
Ashen,
but
but it's
but
another one of those games where it's like, just if you're on the fence, if you're not sure, you can just download it from Game Pass and try it out. You
yeah.
might like it, and if that's the case, then Game Pass is worth it, and it's worth it if you just like, I mean, the Ashen's $40. It's expensive, just like Mutant Year Zero, and it's like, save yourself some money. You sign up for the trial, or get the $1 for a month, or the $10, and it's like you might find some games in there that are really good. Now, what are your thoughts on Ashen? That what you played so far? Now, I have a feeling you've played it mostly solo, right?
No, actually, I've only played it in co-op at the moment. I've been
Roby?
playing with Roby on stream.
Ah, okay.
So like, I feel the same way as you do. That it's sort of like I'm not a big Dark Souls fan either. Well, I'm not really a fan at all. I haven't got very far in Dark Souls. I get frustrated very easily. Um, but I've been really enjoying Ashen, and I think like one of the in co-op, and one of the things that I've heard people say about Ashen is that it serves as a good entry point to Dark Souls.
Yeah, I
Like
would admit
it gives
it's
you
not as hard. It's definitely not as hard as Dark
no,
Souls.
it's not. It's not as
It's
hard as Dark Souls.
it it yeah, I would say it's a good entry point, because like what Dark Souls does is takes everything and turns it up a notch. Like this has quest markers, right? And it's a fairly linear game for the most part. Like the world, it's big, but like you kind of just go in a singular direction, whereas like Dark Souls is like there's so many different ways to go, and it
Winding.
doesn't really tell you where to go. You kind of got to figure it out for yourself. Um
There are like opportunities. I mean, even in the first area, there's a lot of like not secrets, but there's like places where you can explore and get extra loot and stuff like that. I have found reasons to explore around in Ashen, at least to
yeah,
some degree.
yeah, there's reasons to explore. The characters that you recruit back to your town, they'll give you quests, side quests, which will is the only way to actually increase your health and increase your stamina, which are incredibly important, because that's how you stamina is how you attack and how you evade.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really dig the art style. It's not that long a game. It's like 15, 20 hours, and it was really enjoyable for me in co-op. And yeah, man, like I just kind of think
I haven't heard
about.
anyone say a bad thing about it. Yeah.
I'm sure there's people out there that don't like it. I've had some comments on my videos from Dark Souls veterans that hate the game, that think
Oh
it's
well. Yeah.
too like.
But that's gate. That's gatekeeping and elitism.
Well, they no, not they're just they think it's too simplified, that it's too indie, of a Dark Souls game and
That's the
stuff.
thing. It's not. You can't simplify. It's not trying to be Dark Souls. I mean, I suppose it is in a way, but it's like it's inspired by Dark Souls. It's not trying to be Dark Souls. They're saying like, oh, it's just dumbed down Dark Souls. It's like, so what? You know,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
like
know, like
Mutant Year Zero is kind of like, in a way, dumbed
dumbed
down
down,
XCOM.
dumbed down
But
XCOM.
like,
Yeah,
but it's sometimes it's like it's just nice to like XCOM 2 is such a commitment. You know, it is it's a big commitment. But Mutant Year Zero doesn't feel anywhere near as much as of a commitment. Like, and if you're someone who you know, like me, that doesn't feel like they have so much free time anymore, and you don't want to really commit to something that's gonna make you mad in those little periods of time where you can just sit down and want to play a game for an hour. Like I'd rather play Ashen than play Dark Souls. I like or Mutant Year Zero than XCOM. XCOM might be something that I play on the weekend, like when I can have a proper session for like 5 or 6 hours. But like when I just want to jump on in the week for a quick, quick raz, I can just have a quick, like half an hour on Mutant Year Zero, to knock out a couple of battles and then quick save it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everyone's experience will be different. Like I know Salty put out his review today, and he's a Dark Souls veteran, and he absolutely loved Ashen. So shout out to Salty. Indie Gamer says he's not a big fan of Dark Souls. He played Ashen for around an hour and he couldn't get into it. I believe someone else said in the chat, Karate Guy says he was bored with Ashen. So I mean, like obviously,
It's fair enough.
like your experience will be different. I liked
Yeah.
it. I'm not the biggest Dark Souls fan. I loved it in co-op, liked the art design. Combat was fun. But I understand, like some super, Dark Souls fans might, it might not be hard enough for them, and it may not look that good. And other people will be like, you know what, this is really cool. Like I'm not liking the Dark Souls game, and now I'm actually thinking, you know what, played Ash and I enjoyed it. Like, should I go play Bloodborne? I mean, I played Dark Souls 1. I'm just not that big of a. It's not. I don't hate those games. A lot of people like you just hate them, right? So no, I'm not that big of a fan. Like, there's so many other games come out. Like the Dark Souls games are like they just don't hit it. They just aren't my bag, baby, as Mooch would say, right? Um, but like, hey, I have Bloodborne. Maybe I'll check out Bloodborne. Like, the problem is like there's so many freaking games to play, and there's not enough time to play them all.
I thought like after November, my thinking was, oh, it's gonna get quiet after November, but it feels like it's gotten even worse in December.
Yeah.
Especially because like there's a really good sale on the PlayStation right now. I got God of War for 50% off. In fact I got Bloodborne for like 10 quid or something. And then I picked up The Last of Us as well, which already a bit.
Well, yeah, why don't you talk about that right now? Like you played a little bit of Last of Us, and
Yeah.
let's say some waterworks were going, huh?
I don't know how I've managed to avoid Last of Us spoilers for the intro for so long, but yeah, let's just say like I was not expecting the intro to be that heavy hitting, man. But I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who still hasn't played it, but man, that game pulls no punches. It is pretty dark, and again, like I talk about, I'm waiting to have like a proper session where I can sit down and just sort of immerse myself in Last of Us before I play more of it. Like Fallout 76, I can just literally play Fallout 76 without thinking about it. It's like brain dead, almost like meditating, like how sort of devoid of cognitive input that it needs to be. Like when I play The Last of Us or a game like God of War or something with a plot, like even Red Dead Redemption, I just want to sit down and play it without any distractions. So like I'm gonna get more into Last of Us probably this weekend, I think. And
Nice.
but early impressions are, my God, what a
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yes, right. I mean
So
that opening, honestly, might be one of the best openings to a video game I've ever played.
yeah, possibly.
And
It's
just think that's a PS3 game. Well, I mean, you're playing the remastered version for PS4, but still.
in 30 frames per second.
I mean, some people like Nat Hardman will say Last of Us is the most overrated game they've ever played.
Who said that?
Well, someone in chat, Nat Hardman, he says Last of Us is the most overrated game I played. You'll see a lot of people like when games are highly rated, right? People will be like, "This game isn't as good as you say," and obviously everything's opinion. Like, let's talk about one of my buddies, Zalker. He hates Red Dead Redemption. He gave it an 8.5, but he hates it, right? He thinks it's the most overrated game of the generation. Whichever, opinions are subjective, right? Like, so you're more than welcome to have that, but like I've seen people say God of War is overrated. And then like every single game that's rated high is overrated. People will always say that. And it's always like, there's be threads on Reset or other things like what game should have a lower Metacritic score, and it's basically like every popular game should be worse than it is, right? Yeah, it's all just opinions though, but I am glad you're enjoying Last of Us. I can't wait for you to get deeper. It took me a little bit of time to get into it because I felt like the first chapter, Summer, wasn't that interesting. It's all kind of a tutorial setup, but oh my god, once you kind of get into fall, whew, I think, right? Do you start in spring or summer? I think you start in summer. But anyways,
yeah, I'm super impressed with it so far. But you know, I knew it was going to be good because of how acclaimed it is, but I didn't know it was going to be that good. You know,
right. Chief Nagel says, or Rand saying everything Nintendo's overrated. That's right. Even when I say that's just opinion. But you guys know, I couldn't care less about Nintendo games. Super Smash Brothers? Nah. Super Trash
Oh,
Brothers, more like it.
that's what I've been playing as well.
Oh
I've
my
been playing
god.
Smash
Get
Bros.
out of here. No, you haven't been.
I have.
You've
I've
been
also,
playing. You've been
dude,
playing
I bought the
Smash?
ultimate edition of Smash Bros for like 80 quid. That's why I got no money.
Dude, Black Ice is going right for you, Jesse said. You know what's overrated? World of Warcraft.
All right, I cancelled my WoW subscription.
You can't. What you played it for like 1,000 hours this year. What do you mean you canceled it?
I cancelled it, man. I'm done with that game.
You're done with the game. Okay, but now you're on
We
to
could do.
now
We
you're
could do.
on
I
to
could do.
Smash.
Yeah, I could do a whole podcast about why I'm done with Warcraft and why I'm done with Blizzard.
Jeez. But,
Done
okay,
with Blizzard.
but now you're into Smash. Smash
Yes.
Bros Ultimate, Trash Bros Ultimate. The grind is real, according to Jason Schreier.
Oh god.
Whatever. He really kind of just opened up the hornet's nest with that. Is it?
Do you want to fill people in what happened there?
Well, I mean, Jason Schreier said that unlocking the characters in Smash is a chore and a grind, but then he also said there was no grind in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So people kind of picked him apart from that. I think the difference is it's more like what grind do you enjoy versus one that you don't like. Like, to some people, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a grind and a half, especially if you just mainline the quests, right? To others, they play it like an RPG and they do everything in every single area. So when they actually continue on with the main story, there's no grind. It's just like they've been playing naturally. Some people enjoy unlocking the characters in Smash, So Jason was getting called out for his apparent hypocrisy about enjoying one grind versus enjoying another grind. Of course, Ubisoft, actually gives you the option to skip the grind with their XP boosters. So tell me about Smash, like, quickly, because it's on the Nintendo Switch and I don't care about Nintendo.
I can't talk much about Smash Bros because I haven't played that much of it. I've been doing the single player campaign mode where you have to save all the other Smash dudes who've had their souls taken. I just been playing through that to reacquaint myself with the game and get used to the Switch controls because I haven't really played Switch that much. It's Smash Brothers, man. It feels exactly the same way as the 64 Smash Brothers did. I've got Kirby's damage, I've got Kirby's abilities burned onto my brain from playing that as a kid, and he's exactly the same pretty much now as he always was. Like he's got all the same abilities from like Smash Bros. Melee, I think. So it's Smash Bros, man.
One of the bigger announcements at the Game Awards was that Joker from Persona 5 was coming into Smash as DLC.
Yeah, so Persona's probably going to Switch.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it makes sense. Persona 5 going to Switch makes more sense than Persona 5 coming to Xbox.
Think?
I yes. Yes. I think Nintendo has a very diverse demographic of gamers, plus the portability aspect. I think a lot of people will double dip. Someone asked me what I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, like a game I don't care about on a system I don't care about. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that was one of the things from what was it? I can't remember what event it was, but Phil was talking about Japanese games that arbitrarily miss Xbox, and someone in the audience yelled out Persona, and Phil said, "I hear you, I hear you."
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember. I mean, Phil knows what games, there's those de facto Japanese games on PlayStation that make the system very appealing to a lot of people, and they just recently have been great. Like Persona's a 90 on Metacritic, Nier Automata came out, and Neo, like all those games are really highly rated, and it like adds to like the idea that PlayStation is the best place to play because not only does it have those type of games, but it also has their own exclusives like God of War and Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's like it's just, and the only reason they don't come to Xbox is they arbitrarily miss, like Phil said, because there is no user base for them, or they don't think it'll make any money because Xbox doesn't have a presence in Japan and stuff. So they're like, whatever. So, do you think Persona will ever come to Xbox in the future, or do you think that'll just be PlayStation and maybe Nintendo?
I mean, it's gonna look bad for Xbox if it's Nintendo Switch and then not Xbox, right? I'd say
I
that
mean,
looks
does
bad.
it look bad for Nintendo Switch that it doesn't have Red Dead Redemption 2, but the other two
Oh,
consoles do?
the thing is, like, they can get away with that because it's underpowered.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a portable system, but like, what excuse does Xbox have to not have those games? You know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would assume the reason is the devs think, unless there's some obviously an agreement between Sony and Atlas or Sega or whoever runs it, which I don't think there is. I think it's just literally nobody's going to buy the game on Xbox, so it's not worth their time. You know,
Yeah. But
porting it's going to
it's up
cost
to
money.
Xbox. It's up to Xbox to convince the devs that it is worth their time.
True.
For whatever reason, Microsoft isn't doing that.
Well, they are building that like division in Asia to kind of supposed to bridge the gap on that, right? That
Well,
we had heard about, or we had.
that's what they're saying, man.
So yeah, I mean, you're right, but so I'm kind of interested to see what you think about Last of Us going, in the future. And taking it back here to 1 minute for Smash Brothers, I heard an interesting rumor, Jazz. Would you like me to share it?
Yeah, hit me.
I heard from a very reliable person that Banjo is indeed coming to Smash as a DLC character.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and that person wasn't you,
No, it wasn't.
because Rand actually does have people that talk to him that know things that isn't Jazz.
Randall Insider.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not an insider. No.
Oh,
Like,
no,
God
dude,
forbid. God no.
You are literally an insider now.
No.
Yeah,
I
you're an
just
insider.
happen to talk to people
Build
that
it,
know.
baby. You're an insider.
I don't know. It could be. It could be. It could not be true. I heard it was. I mean, I don't know. There was that really impressive leak that people were like, "Nah, this is totally fake." With Banjo in the picture.
Mm.
Maybe it ends up being true. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out one day.
I mean, it'd be good. It'd be good optics for Microsoft if they did that.
Yeah, but I don't think there's going to be a Banjo game in development.
No. I mean, probably not. But I mean, it'd just be a cool thing to do for fans of Banjo, which apparently
Sure, but I
many
mean,
of them.
okay.
Are you a Banjo fan?
No, I'm not. Like, here's the truth about me.
Oh.
I don't think Rare's a very good developer, and that goes back to when they were on the 64. Their only good game was GoldenEye. Did I lose you, Jez?
Killer Instinct, man.
Okay, I'll give you Killer Instinct. I'll give you that. Killer Instinct is cool, but like, no, I don't care about Conquer. I don't care about Banjo or any of the other games in the Rare replay stuff, right? Like, I don't care at all.
Oh, Battletoads, man.
Battletoads was a mistake.
Oh my god.
We've had this discussion before. Yeah, no, Battletoads is a terrible game. And you know what?
You hate memes now?
No, I don't hate memes. Are you really excited to play a brand new Battletoads in 20?
Not really. I can't say that I am.
Exactly.
I like fan service, man, and that's what that game's all about.
Perfect Dark? I don't like Perfect Dark either. Like, I only really like GoldenEye and Killer Instinct. I'm sorry. Like, Rare doesn't do it for me. Sea of Thieves didn't do it for me. Their Connect Sports games didn't do it for me. Perfect Dark Zero didn't do it for me. Cameo didn't do it for me. Their games on the 64. I know people are getting upset in chat, and that's fine. It's one person's opinion. It's one person's.
You hate
opinion.
Nintendo. You hate Rare.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, that's just one person's opinion. So don't get all upset. I don't know. Like, maybe it's because of the Nintendo stuff. I just don't care about, like, if a new Banjo was announced, I'd just be like, whatever. Is my source the same guy that said new Splinter Cell's coming? No. See, the thing is with that is that the thing with Splinter Cell is I know someone who's actually played Splinter Cell.
The new one.
Legit has played it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so I know it's real. And like I said, I had to have gotten canceled or at least put on hold. But people always throw that in my face. Oh, what about Splinter Cell? Like ignoring everything else I've said that's come out to be true. You know, it's always there's this one guy who's always like in my mentions talking about me and Jez about how we're always lying, and Jez makes stuff up. You know what I'm talking about?
Probably. There's
Yeah.
a few people who say things like that.
So Alex wants to know. Alice Escobar wants to know, and I know Alex. You're gonna make fun of me. You're gonna go on Next Gen's podcast and be like, "Did you hear what this Rand guy?" You know, Alex is a PlayStation fan,
Oh.
and you know what? He was right. I said XO18 was gonna be so awesome, and then he made fun of me and said, "Come on, Rand, you should know better, right?" And then like a week later, I was like, "Yeah, it's probably not gonna be any good, but still, um, you know, it's all fun and games." Alex, I am 37. But I am more of a Sega Genesis kid than I was a Nintendo kid, if that makes any sense.
So was I. So was I. I'm lucky though, because I have siblings, and the whole family eventually ended up with every console. So like, I'd get a console for one birthday, sibling would get another console for another birthday, even if it was like secondhand or something. So I'd end up with all the consoles eventually. But
Yeah.
I was like I was like Master System, Genesis, PlayStation, pretty much.
Yeah, I was NES, Genesis, 32X, Sega CD, Saturn, Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 360. Like I didn't have an SNES. I've never played a Super Nintendo game. I didn't own a 64 even though I played 64 games at my friends' houses. You know, so like I owned a GameCube. I've only owned two Nintendo well, three. I mean, technically, if you want to talk about the Wii, well, four because I own the Switch. God, so I have the NES. I had the NES. I had the GameCube. Right. Obviously, we owned a Wii because everybody owned the Wii in the world. Right.
I didn't.
And then I bought a Switch, which I haven't turned on since March. So, yeah, I'm not like I said, like maybe that explains to you guys like why I don't give a shit about Nintendo or any of the games they make or whatever they do because they don't mean anything. Gaming to me, okay, gaming to me is PlayStation. Gaming to me is Xbox. Gaming to me, like when I think of video games, I don't think of Nintendo. Unfortunately, like when I think about how I started video gaming, sure, NES was the first console, but like when I think gaming, I think PlayStation, but that's just me. I don't, you know what I mean? So, moving on, because that topic got a little bit long. Jez, I want to ask you this question because, and we're going to start with an Xbox topic. A beloved IP is coming back. That's what Goldberg says. He says that a beloved Xbox IP that you played in the, the previous last 4 years is getting its sequel in next gen. And you'll hear more about it in 2020. Now, I had my pick in my video. I know what you're going to say because I think we're both saying the same exact thing. We both think it's Killer Instinct 2, correct?
Yep.
Now, why do we think it's Killer Instinct 2?
I've heard it. I've heard that Killer Instinct 2 has been on the radar, at least, for a sequel for a while. It lines up with what I've heard. I don't know if that's the game he's referring to, but I have heard that Killer Instinct isn't dead, basically. But if it's true, they are being very coy about it. It's hard to get leaks out of Microsoft these days. Yeah, it's like when a company is happy, when the employees of a company are happy, leaks generally don't happen so often. I think leaks sometimes happen as a result of spite, disgruntled employees and all that stuff. Some of my leaks have happened as a result of you know, giving information through third parties, but getting leaks direct from Microsoft ain't easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you're Brad
quite
Sams and you leak exactly what CPU and the GPU the next Xbox has. But yeah,
well, allegedly.
allegedly. Oh, Jez is like a little upset that he didn't get that leak.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he's right. 'Cause
Hmm.
I've heard different.
Battle
So,
of the Insider. Oh, you've heard different. Oh boy. Okay, we'll have to talk about that in a different topic. But um, so Jez, the thing is, a lot of people when they hear this, they immediately think of the trifecta: Rise, Sunset Overdrive, and Quantum Break. The three that got away, I guess. The three games that don't have sequels. So when they think beloved Xbox IP that's getting a sequel, they immediately go to those three games. But as we've reiterated before, Rise 2 is never happening, right?
Rise to, I mean, who knows, man? Money can change people's opinions about things. But I've heard repeatedly from multiple people that Rise 2 will never happen,
Yeah.
whatever reason. I've
Microsoft
also
also doesn't own that IP.
yeah,
So,
so it's doubly unlikely to happen. I've also heard Quantum Break will never happen, but again, money changes things. And Sunset Overdrive, like Insomniac, looks a lot more attractive now than they might have done back then, given the success of Spider-Man. So maybe that'll happen now. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything about those games. What I have heard is Killer Instinct. Oh,
what about a Recore 2? You would
that's
think
interesting.
because Shannon Loftus mentioned it as like, games that might have a future. They did a definitive edition for a reason, right? You would think, you know what? Why would you do a definitive edition if you don't really aren't going to continue on with the franchise?
To try and make some of the money back.
Well, then that was a very poor decision because nobody cared about Recore when it first came out. Nobody's going to care about the definitive edition when it came out a year later. Like, maybe you should have released the definitive edition of Recore as the actual release instead of
Hmm.
what Recore released as.
Yeah,
But then
maybe.
again,
Hindsight's 2020,
what
man.
is beloved? Because that's the other thing here. Like, Clover used a beloved Xbox IP. Like, to
Killer
me,
Instinct's a beloved IP.
well, okay, yeah, and that has a history going all the way back with Rare. But like, Rise isn't beloved. Quantum Break isn't beloved. Maybe
Dude, speak for yourself. I'm beloved of Quantum
look,
Break.
I'd like Quantum Break as much as the next person, but I would not say that is a beloved game, Jez, or an IP.
Yeah, fair
Like
enough.
when you talk about Xbox, you talk about beloved IPs. There's Halo, there's Gears of War, there's the Forza franchise, and there's Fable. Right? I would say those are the beloved games on Xbox, mainly because well, they're also the games that Microsoft seems to give you in large quantities over extended period of time. I like I Ori. I would hazard a guess to say Ori is beloved as well. Maybe. Well, it's beloved to me at least. Well, more beloved than any other games I mentioned. Um. So yeah, I don't know. It's Killer Instinct 2. It's lined up with what I've heard, what Jez has heard. It makes sense. I think they're gonna have another fighting game at the launch of the console, just very much like they originally did with Killer Instinct back in 2013. You know.
I
Um.
think like fighting games have a lot of potential as a service type thing, right? So like I mean, a lot of people wonder if Killer Instinct really did that well. But I think like over the course of its life, it probably did do pretty well. There was a lot of micropayments in the game, for better or worse, and there was a lot of DLC for the game. It was very much in the news for quite a while. It didn't have a really good esports run. Like I think Evo picked it up like once or twice, and then dropped it like a brick. But I really enjoy Killer Instinct. But the problem with Killer Instinct is kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like the same issue that Forza has, where it's very tailored towards a very specific demographic, and it doesn't
Okay.
have that broad sort of appeal that a shooter might have, like Halo might have. Um, So even though like Forza is best in class racing game, people always just say, "Well, it's just a racing game," every time. And you could probably say the same about a fighting game as well, and so to some degree. So I suppose like if they do make a sequel to Killer Instinct, they probably need to double down on things like the single player aspects of it, which I think Mortal Kombat did very well.
And Injustice did very well. Well, I mean, NetherRealm does really good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've got to they should be looking at what NetherRealm's doing in the space. Um, Smash Brothers does well because it's very accessible sort of style of fighting game. The whole arena thing. Like you don't have to memorize combos and anything like that or counters and stuff like that. Like I play Killer Instinct quite a bit, but like I still feel like I barely scratched the surface of that game. Um, it's hard to get into, man.
No, it
It's
is.
hard to get into. Um,
But I
but
mean that
who knows?
that kind of goes with like when I think of like a launch lineup of the next gen consoles, right? Like clearly they're lining up Halo Infinite as a potential launch title. It definitely not coming out next year. So that leaves 2020 with the launch of these consoles. There's still talk that Turn 10 is all in on Forza Motorsport 7, which if that's true, Forza Motorsport 8's not coming out this year. Which would then put, as a Forza Motorsport 8 as a graphical showpiece for a brand new console as a launch title alongside Halo. I would hazard a guess that Ninja Theory's next game, whatever it is, will also be around that time. And then you launch also with Killer Instinct, a fighting game. And then whatever third parties come to the table as well. I mean, those are just four. If I had to put money down, those would be like the launch lineup for the next Xbox. What do you think?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah. And then like figuring out what comes after. When is the initiative's next game? Or when is their first game rather? Are we talking 2023, 2024? When is Fable from Playground? When is the next
It is
Horizon
indeed
game?
Fable.
Well, now you don't think it's Fable?
Man, I keep hearing weird things about that.
Oh Jesus, really? Because like you told me,
1 minute it's Fable, 1 minute it ain't Fable. I don't know anymore.
so you told me before it was 100% Fable. I had heard from so many other different people it was 100%. Eurogamer said it was 100% Fable, and now it's not Fable.
No, I didn't say it's not Fable. I'm just saying the jury's out, man.
What do you mean the jury's? This is paging Cloberl. Cloberl, find this info. Is it really Fable? God, that'd be
until I've seen it in front of me. I can never say for sure if it's Fable. Yeah. I've heard that it's Fable, like you, but I've also heard that it isn't Fable.
interesting.
I think at least at one point it wasn't Fable, and then maybe it became Fable. And
well, I know that to be 100% true.
Okay, well,
I mean, as 100% as I can be without actually seeing the game, from what I was told. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, Microsoft is obviously they have all these studios working on all this stuff. They need to figure out like when the launch timings and all these different things and years they need to launch them.
There is a lot of games. I mean, when in Microsoft's history have we ever been able to say there are a lot of games being made at Microsoft right now?
Never.
Ever.
I mean,
yeah. Some of them are multi-platform, like Wasteland 3 is multi-platform. Is it Outer Worlds? Outer Worlds is multi-platform. I keep getting that mixed up with the Outer. There's a game called The Outer Wilds as well. So that's confusing.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. And the Ravenflow has a good point. He says Xbox forces their fan base to speculate.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming
that's true of Microsoft in general.
Yes, very much.
Look, I hate to bring it up again, but for 2 years, nobody really knew if Windows Phone was dead. Everyone was just always asking Microsoft, "Hey, you're not making phones anymore, so is it dead? Is it not dead? What's going on?" They wouldn't tell anyone. So everyone just had to speculate and guess and wait for leaks from Zach and stuff like that. Nobody bloody knew. So that's just how Microsoft seems to operate.
Because like Sony, put out their whole strategy at 2016. Here are the games, right? We got Last of Us Part 2, Ghosts of Tsushima, which they revealed last year, God of War, Spider-Man. They let people know what their upcoming lineup was. I
Do
mean,
you think that is a better strategy?
well, I mean, it's currently the winning strategy, is it not?
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
true, but then like you have people say, "Oh, but Sony's not at E3 this year because they got nothing to show."
that true. They did cancel PSX. They didn't have a thing at Paris Games Week, Gamescom.
Did
They,
they blow their load too early? Is basically what I'm asking.
I mean, who really knows the reasons? Only Sony does. They did say they canceled PSX because they didn't have enough to show and they didn't want people to like come there and be disappointed. I don't really know. And maybe they blew it all too early and they're just not ready to show their PlayStation 5 games. I don't even know. Either way, you can look at the way both Microsoft and Sony. The difference is like Microsoft had nothing though. Like you know what I mean? Like there was
That's
that
true.
point in time where there was no games gestating. They basically spread out their games from a 2-year period. I mean, like 2017 was Halo Wars and Forza Motorsport 8, and then this year was Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, and Forza Horizon 4. But then Sea of Thieves and State of Decay were supposed to be 2017, and hell, so was Crackdown. So then 2018, if that happened, would have had one game that happened Forza. So like obviously Microsoft did some things to kind of spread it around because there wasn't stuff ready. I don't know which one's the better strategy. I mean, at least with PlayStation strategies, their fans know and they can hype up the games in years in advance.
It
Xbox's
feels like
strategy,
there's more stability and reliability of PlayStation. You kind of know they've built up that sort of you know what to expect, and I think that's important from a consumer's perspective. See, I think the truth about Microsoft is forever they don't really care so much about being consistent. They care about making sure. I mean, we can laugh about this, but they care about making sure that they do a good job more than being consistent. And yeah, maybe they fail at doing a good job a fair amount of time. But they don't feel that pressure from consumers that Sony does, because their business is so diverse that no one business failing will hurt Microsoft. So I kind of feel like they can get away with. I mean, can you imagine if Apple didn't release an iPhone for 2 years and then didn't tell anyone why? It would cripple their business. It will cripple their whole business because like 80% of Apple is iPhone or some ridiculously high percentage. Can you imagine if Apple did that? But when Microsoft didn't talk about Windows Phone for 2 years, it didn't even hurt them in the slightest because it was such like a fragment of their overall strategy. So like I think Microsoft doesn't feel that pressure like Sony does to be consistent, but
well, I mean, to be fair, Sony's entire business is PlayStation for the most part, at least like the biggest part of their business. And Xbox for the longest time was an afterthought at Microsoft.
yeah, but things are different now.
Yeah, I mean things are different, and I see Shady. He's saying in chat, 13 studios games are coming. Jesus, nobody's saying the games aren't coming. We're talking about currently and previously in the last couple of years the very different approach that Sony and Microsoft have taken to showing games
Yeah.
far out. Microsoft tends to very stick stuff close to the chest. They got burned by Scalebound, they got burned by Fable Legends. You can even argue they got burned by Below, right? They showed that at the reveal, and it's finally coming out now. There was no games in development for a long time, so we really had nothing to show. And then there's the opposite. There's PlayStation, like literally telling gamers in 2016, this is the lineup you're going to be having for the rest of the generation. No release dates, but they're all coming. And we're just talking about like which strategy is the best strategy. I mean, clearly, I mean, I'm not saying which one's best. I mean, obviously, Sony's strategy worked really well, and it didn't. People not knowing when God of War and Spider-Man coming until they were really announced for 2018 and having a date. Well, it didn't really matter because still people came out and bought them in huge amounts regardless.
That's because they're consistent. You know that their games are going to be good.
Well, I mean,
Almost always.
most of the time, I wouldn't. There's Sony's released some duds, but I mean, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting approach, and I just wonder how if Microsoft with the actual studios to line up, you know, if they actually change their way going forward, because if Microsoft really wants to make a bang for next gen, they're going to have to let people know what games are coming and what games are
thing
coming in the
is,
future.
the strategy is going to be the strategy still going to be different from Sony because of Game Pass, and it's going to be more about lining those games up with the months where people's subscriptions are going to lapse, and it's like, oh, I'll keep my Game Pass subscription going for another month to play this game, and I think like moving forward they'll want to have a headline exclusive for Game Pass at least every month. I think buying up so many studios forms part of that ideology of having a consistent stream of games into Game Pass, at least from my perspective. I think that their strategies all diverge because of Game Pass, if nothing else.
Right. Either way, interesting discussion. But Game Awards, Jazz,
Game
because
Awards.
this kind of is going to also talk about one of the studios that Microsoft recently acquired. What do you think of the show in general? Now, like,
I didn't watch it, man, because it was on
okay,
at 3 in the morning. My girlfriend was asleep, so I was just reading Twitter while it was on. I couldn't watch it because I had to be quiet.
right,
My girlfriend had uni the next day, but like, I mean, I know who won the awards, and I know some of the
right.
more
So,
interesting things that happened.
Forza Horizon 4 won Best Sports Racing Game. I mean, that's no surprise. It absolutely deserves that. Um,
More than FIFA.
no, FIFA, please. I mean, the big kind of talk.
FIFA, man.
Celeste was best indie game. Monster Hunter was best role playing game. Was the battle between game of the year, right? Between God of War and Red Dead. And it's funny because I got some tweets afterwards where people assumed I was being super salty, like I was really pissed that God of War beat Red Dead because I've been very vocal about my love for Red Dead and how it's probably going to be my game of the year, right? So they keep on they like come at me and be like, God of War, you said some stupid things in your review about God of War or whatever, right? Which I did, but that was more in the moment type stuff, right? The thing is like people forget I absolutely adore God of War. Like I gave both games a 10 out of 10. I love God of War and I love Red Dead Redemption 2. They're like two of the three best games, and that's see, Lowell 245, he knows what I said. He says God of War is child's play. And like when I finished Red Dead, I like the experience I had with that.
Why in what sense? Too easy?
No, I just felt that like I felt that a lot of the stuff that Red Dead 2 did with the world building and the voice acting and the story was better than God of War's, but like slightly better. So obviously, like I exaggerate, as sometimes I tend to do. Said like God of War's child's play because I know it gets people talking and it gets engagement and comments and likes and dislikes and all that stuff. It's a YouTube strategy, you know. But I still love God of War, gave it a 10 out of 10, love Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm happy that God of War won. Like I would have been happy if Red Dead won, but like how could I hate the fact that God of War won when it's like one of my favorite games of this entire generation? I don't know. Like people,
you're doing YouTube right when people call you an Xbox fanboy and a PlayStation fanboy.
I know, right? People will be like, "Rand's just a Xbot," but then like, I'm also a pony, I guess. Like because I've been very vocal about for the most part, I think Sony makes better games than Microsoft. And like and the Xbox fans get upset when I say that, and then the PlayStation fans get upset that I don't talk about PlayStation that often outside of the games. You know what I mean? So, I mean, do you have any like thoughts on God of War winning over Red Dead? Or...
I haven't played God of War, so
That's
I can't
right.
really comment.
You don't really have an opinion.
I own it though, and I'll get around to that after The Last of Us. I was originally going to play God of War first, but then someone made the good point that Last of Us will feel like it's really dated after playing God of War. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll play Last of Us first, which is the older game, and then God of War will be like dessert, right? So I'll comment probably more on that, but like I don't know. From the sounds of it, it sounds like God of War deserved to win.
Chief Nagy says you can only like one game per year, no exceptions. It's true.
Fallout 76 should have won Game of the Year.
Oh, jeez. Can you imagine who's even nominated? Well, you know what's funny? You know what's funny is Below is nominated for like best Xbox game and best action adventure game, and yet there are no review copies. So how the hell is it nominated for
I-
IGN's thing?
Not. Eh?
Yeah, IGN has like their nominations up for the Game of the Year stuff. Below's nominated for best Xbox game, but
What?
nobody. Yeah, dude, go to Dan
What?
Stapleton's Twitter, right? Because he
Can you
talked about
explain why?
kind of, but it seemed very much like damage controlling because his excuse was that like people had played it in preview or whatever, preview events, and it's not keeping another game
No,
off
they
the list.
haven't.
I'm just saying, dude, like I saw it yesterday and I was like, that is really weird. Right here, I'll read you his response. Um, let's see. Did he delete the tweet though? Okay, so he tweets out 22 hours ago. For your information, due to lack of early copies, we won't be able to post a below review at launch, right? And then someone goes, "Wait a minute, isn't it an IGN's best action adventure game of 2018's list?" And then someone else goes, "Yeah, it's also nominated for best Xbox game and best action adventure game, yet no one has even played it there." And then so Stapleton goes, he says, "While I agree it should not have been presumptuously nominated, I can assure you that nothing was left off those lists to make room for it." Like, isn't that like the most damage controlling tweet you've ever heard? Like,
It's
I
weird.
don't know. Like,
It's like for example, we're doing Windows Central Game Awards for the end of the year. Nobody's going to read them, but I like doing them anyway. For fun. And and I Mutant Year Zero wasn't in my considerations when we started because I hadn't played it. It wasn't even in my radar because like, okay, I haven't played it, so it's not being nominated. But now I have played it. No, it is nominated. Below is not under consideration for any end of year awards because I haven't played it since E3 2016. I think I played it then. I'm not going to base my nomination based on that.
right. And it's, I
It's a
mean,
completely different game now.
someone in chat said, Kilo Brown says it was an IGN first game at one point.
But how long ago was that?
I don't know. And that's the thing. It's like, how is it nominated if you haven't played the game? Like, I don't know. I kind of look at that and I find that whole situation really weird. Not only is it best Xbox game, it's best action adventure game. And you're telling me it's okay because it's not preventing another game from being on the list? Come on, son. Like,
When does
what?
when does their voting period end? Because maybe by the time it ends, that more
What if the
people have
game's
played it.
garbage? What
Yeah,
then?
well, then it won't get votes if the game's garbage.
Then you couldn't have picked a different game to take its place?
But he said no games were left off.
I don't know. There's obviously a game left off. You know what I mean?
Sometimes there isn't a conspiracy theory. It's just
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, the Game Awards, I liked it a lot. I think Jeff Keighley has come a long way.
Well,
That show.
I got a press release today about the Game Awards. Apparently, it was only 300,000 viewers behind the Oscars.
Yes, I saw that.
So next year, because the Oscars has been shrinking and the Game Awards has been growing, next year the Game Awards will be bigger than the Oscars probably.
Well,
and we have Drake to thank for it.
yes, we do because gaming is bigger than movies and TV and music. People don't want to believe it. True.
Combined.
Mm-hmm. Which we'll still talk about that, but specifically about the Game Awards, like my only critique is that it's too long. Like it was 3 hours and 15 minutes long. It's too long. I think it was 3 hours and 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. That needs to be like 45 minutes, like cut out from that. I think
it was 45 minutes of it ads though.
I mean, there was some amount of ads,
people
but like
complaining about ads on Twitter.
they could literally just cut out the orchestra stuff. I know they want to have it for the music for all these games, and I really did enjoy the Red Dead one, but like they could just cut that off. I don't know, but it has gotten better. I do enjoy watching it, and one of the reasons people watch it is for the reveals, right? The big announcements.
It sounds like he's done a really good job with it, Jeff Keighley. Yeah. He catches some shit, especially from the Xbox community. Because didn't he leak a load of Xbox stuff last year?
Well, so last year he said that
price, right?
Scorpio was going to be $499.
Yeah.
And that a lot of Xbox fans were pissed which you never know. Somebody at Xbox could have literally told them the price and told them to announce it, so there would be, you know what I mean? Like you never know. Like Major Nelson could have been like, "Yo, say it's 4.99, so there's not sticker shock when it gets announced or something." You never know.
Sticker shock.
Yeah, you never know when stuff like that goes down. But some of the reveals though, Mortal Kombat 11 finally coming April 23rd. That trailer was incredibly gory, but incredibly awesome. Um, let's see, Far Cry New Dawn, a new Far Cry game, Jazz, already a sequel to
Isn't
Far
it?
Cry
Isn't it
5.
like a standalone DLC? Really?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's not numbered. It's Far Cry New Dawn. It's not Far Cry 5, but it is a sequel to 5. It's a $40 game, so not a full $60 product. It does kind of seem like it should be a DLC for Far Cry that they
Set
just
in the
turned into.
same map too,
It
right?
looks like it, but it's got pink flowers, right?
Pink flowers.
And it looks a lot
Far
like
Cry Primal has the same map as Far
yes.
Cry 4,
hmm
I think. Yeah.
Um, what else? It comes out the same day as Crackdown 3, so Crackdown can't
Oh,
catch a break.
really?
Yeah,
Oh my god, that's funny and
yeah.
depressing.
So the February 15th is packed. Not only do you have Crackdown 3, Far Cry New Dragon, but you got Dead or Alive 6 and Jump Force all on the same day.
Ugh.
Like
That's a shame because like Jump Force is similar in the demographic, probably.
yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
That's
what else? Big announcement was, let's see here. Obviously, Rage 2. They announced a date for that, which I believe is like May 25th. Although Rage 2 and Far Cry New Dawn look very similar. Uh,
yeah, but you know which game's going to be better, right?
Rage 2 is going to be better.
Oh
Rage
yes.
2 definitely. Your game, BioWare teased Dragon Age. Although they didn't really call it Dragon Age.
Yes, they did.
And
But it's been rebooted, so I think they've okay. So basically, what the rumor is regarding Dragon Age is that they had started building a game. They decided to reboot it. They weren't happy with the product that they were making. Mark Laidlaw left the company, who was in charge of the Dragon Age franchise, and they're basically when they move Anthem into its sort of post-launch mode, they're going to build a team to start making Dragon Age 4 with a new concept or a different take on what they were building has been scrapped basically. So it's going to be far away, and I suppose that's why they just teased it. Maybe they wanted to silence any rumors that EA were going to kill it, because we all know what happened to Visceral Games, don't we?
yes, we
And
do.
and we all know what happened
It
to Mass
also
Effect Andromeda, don't we?
it also seems like them trying to quiet concerns of, hey, I'm a BioWare fan, but I don't really care about Anthem. What do you have for me? And they're like, oh, just so happens we're working on a new Dragon Age, even though, like, the rumors are that it's still 3 to 4 years away at this point.
Oh yeah,
So basically, it's a next
been
gen
rebooted.
game.
It's miles away.
So
Solus, have you played Dragon Age Inquisition? Are you into the franchise?
I played Dragon Age 1, and I played a little bit of Inquisition. I didn't play 2. So, mm,
Not big into it then.
not really. I mean, I did put a ton of hours into Dragon Age Origins.
I love that game. It's one of my favorite games ever. I've I'm a pretty big Dragon Age fan. I got like the books and stuff like that. Like a proper nerd. I was pretty
So,
happy to see that, even
um,
though it's EA and I don't trust them.
but like the big one, at least for maybe like Xbox fans, considering it's a studio Microsoft recently purchased and it's Obsidian, was their reveal of the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, that was the one that got everyone talking by the sounds of it.
Well, it's like, hey, here's Fallout, but like without like any of the stuff that you hate about Fallout 76. No microtransactions, no loot boxes.
It
From
was
the original Fallout creators.
it was a perfect kind of reveal, right? Everyone's pissed at Bethesda about Fallout 76. Fallout 4 was, it was well received in general, but it's the worst Fallout game before 76 anyway. So like Fallout fans are pretty pissed in general, and like if you go on the subreddits, most people like remember Fallout New Vegas most fondly now. Like when it launched, I remember everyone being pissed about how buggy it was. But like now, most people think Fallout New Vegas was the best one in terms of branching narrative and that sort of thing. So like when Obsidian roll around, like when Obsidian roll around with their trailer and they're like, from the creators of Fallout New Vegas, the one that you all like, and then basically show off the dialogue boxes and stuff, and you know, it looks Fallout 3 like. It was a perfect reveal, man.
It
And
does. It does. It has ditched their Pillars of Eternity like top view camera, right? Like the Diablo style.
yeah,
This
the
is a
Unity
first person view like Fallout. And I think it's on Unreal Engine 4. It looks cool. But of course people like on Twitter and people elsewhere are like, "Oh my god, this is coming to PlayStation?" Oh, I thought Microsoft bought these guys. You know, which obviously like Microsoft purchased them. Obviously, this game has been in development for a long time. Publishing deals have been made already. Um, should we just explain to some people what's going on with this game, Jez? Because there's a lot of questions going on. Like, first off, who owns the Outer Worlds IP? Is it Microsoft? Is it
right. So
Private Division or is it Obsidian?
I've been told that Microsoft owns the IP. Well, Microsoft hasn't actually bought Obsidian yet.
Yeah, they haven't fully
So
acquired them.
so the who knows, man? The deal could still fall through. But Obsidian owns the IP. They own the trademark, and you provide the link to that, right?
Yes.
But I've heard that as well from speaking to people I know, that Microsoft will be acquiring the IP. But however, the speculation is that what are they called? Private Division, the subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive, who also own Rockstar in the same business. They own publishing rights, possibly to a sequel as well. So it could be that the game, this game appears on PlayStation and possibly the next one as well.
Or this could be the only game.
Or this could be the only game.
Because you got to think about it from like, does Private Division and Take-Two want to invest in a franchise that they don't really control? Like, yes, they have sequel rights, but Microsoft might just have them working on something else. So it's like, do you invest a lot of money in marketing and all this stuff to grow the Outer Worlds when Microsoft could just be like, nah, now you're not doing Outer Worlds, you're doing something else? Or do you play
this is the
hardball with
thing. Microsoft said that Obsidian will be able to choose what they want to do. I'm pretty sure, like, if Obsidian said we want to make an Outer World sequel, it kind of goes back, and Microsoft said no. That kind of goes back on the promises that Microsoft made, doesn't it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, we weren't in the rooms for there, but like,
I can say that I've heard Take-Two have been they weren't like, basically Obsidian joining Microsoft was not a surprise to Take-Two. I'll put it that way.
right.
They were aware
Okay.
of it.
And if Outer Worlds does become a success, and if Microsoft wants to continue with the franchise, they could just buy the sequel rights from them. If they wanted
I mean
to
that might be
on.
something that might be something that's more likely to happen, like Gears of War moving over from Epic Games. Thank God that happened.
Right.
Can you imagine if Epic Games still owned Gears of War now after they became the Fortnite company? How depressing would that be for Gears fans?
But I mean, like, I had always heard that when they went to visit Obsidian and look what they were offering, they did see the Outer Worlds, but they saw another project, and that's what Microsoft really wanted and was really interested in.
You heard that? Is that insider info or public knowledge?
I mean, I don't know. It's just something I was told. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it gets confused with what's been public. I think that's public, but someone also mentioned it to me. So I don't know. So like the game looks cool. Supposed to be coming out this year. It's gonna definitely be interesting to see how the franchise either continues on with as a multiplat while they're working under Microsoft. If Microsoft buys the rights and puts a sequel on Xbox and Windows 10, or if it's just a one-off completely. I don't know. I guess it really depends on how it performs. I mean, the
Yeah.
game could. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, um, that was. I don't know. Like to me, the most impressive announcement was probably Mortal Kombat 11. To be honest with you, like I think. Oh my god, I love the NetherRealm games. You know,
I am that big into fighting games. Like I
y-
enjoy Killer Instinct, but it's like I can't get really excited for them. You know?
yeah, but hey, where was Borderlands 3? Huh?
Oh yeah,
Remember?
what happened to that rumor?
Remember, where's Borderlands 3? Didn't the No say that was happening? And didn't what else? Warner Brothers and the new like Suicide, like all these games.
The no said that.
I'm pretty like the No came out with this like video the day before the Game Awards, and like Battle Borderlands 3 is real, and here's all the four characters and stuff.
Oh my god.
Um, but they didn't know if it was going to be revealed or something. But I mean, the No is also the same people that said Microsoft bought the Silent Hills IP for $2 billion. Remember that? Remember? Do you remember that? 'Cause
I'd love to have been in the room when like Microsoft heard that rumor.
could you imagine? Like, I still don't know
$2
why people like. I'm not saying the No
billion.
doesn't know people because obviously they're in the industry, but like the fact that you went to make a video and legitimately say Microsoft had bought the Silent Hills IP from Konami for $2 billion, and you said that with the straightest face possible.
In the Meissen era as well.
I mean, what? Are you dumb? I mean, Jesus, I can't. I don't know, man. Like, really? Like, I remember that
That's
stuff.
the
Like,
problem, man. If you're making a YouTube channel based around rumors and you ain't got a rumor that week, what do you do? What do you do?
we're the No, and we know Microsoft bought Silent Hills for $2 billion. Like,
Who
yeah, the
knows,
same.
man? Maybe they have bought it, right? And it's their secret weapon for E3
Yeah.
2019.
Yes.
It's a Surface Phone exclusive.
The initiative is working on the Silent
Oh,
Hill. um.
that's what they're working on. And
Sure.
Hideo Kojima's directing.
Yeah.
And Death Stranding is in fact a big viral campaign for Silent Hills.
Now, one of the big also takeaways from the Game Awards that really doesn't have anything to do with like the Game Awards themselves or any of the big kind of like game reveals was the Epic Game Store.
Oh
They
yeah.
kind of had a really big presence. They
Oh
money
god, I
handed a lot of games to be exclusive to their store. They have their revenue sharing at like 88% to the
which is
devs
good.
versus 12% to Epic, which is different from Steam 70/30 split at the beginning, and then eventually, like, if you make $50 million, it's like 80/20. There's this big battle going on here, and little old Ashen was kind of caught in the crossfire.
Not
Um,
just Ashen. The ongoing battle now. Well, actually, I suppose it's not as big as Ashen, but what's the game called now? The game by Coffee Stain.
Coffee
Called
Stain?
now?
I don't know. What is it?
Satisfactory. So that the Satisfactory is like I can't. It's like a management game that was announced for Steam and it was on Steam as coming soon for a long time, and then all of a sudden it's now Epic Games exclusive, and a lot of fans are angry about it, and like their YouTube videos are getting downvoted to hell, and they've put out a bunch of tweets like trying to like mock themselves, like, dude, don't you even have the Epic Game Store? Like Blizzard's, don't you even have phone? But it's sort of
Super Meat Boy Forever, as Kilo Brown says, not coming to Steam as well. Like, it really, like,
it screws over. It creates a lot of bad atmosphere around games. The way they handled this, like for example, Ashen didn't have a review program except for like maybe I think it was like 4 or 5 outlets. Now this isn't me being salty because frankly I don't really review games that much anymore. But we covered Ashen a lot in the last couple of years, and like obviously we heard the rumors that Ashen was going to be released at the Game Awards. Obviously, we reached out to them saying, "Is there any chance of a review copy? We've heard it's coming out." Blah blah blah. No reply. She's fine. And then all of a sudden, three reviews go up, or 3 or 4 or 5 reviews or something like that go up, and then like Ashen gets its announcement. It's its Steam exclusive. Find out that it's Epic Game Store exclusive, and Xbox Game Pass is no longer a thing, and there's all this confusion, and it's like, what the hell's going on, you know? And someone was tweeting me today saying like, why aren't big game outlets reviewing Ashen? And it's because Epic Games basically controlled the marketing around Ashen's launch. Like whatever deal they cut with Annapurna Interactive, kind of put a real dampener on the launch. I feel like I think if that game had launched on Steam as normal, and it had launched on Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Play Anywhere as advertised, there wouldn't have been like this like sort of. And also, it had like a proper review program where Microsoft was handling the PR, giving out review codes to people, and you know, and all the reviews went up at once. I think it would have reached way more or way more than it had with the partnership with Epic Games. But that's just me.
Well, I mean, clearly Epic cut someone's a check here, like they're doing for these other people. They're doing trying a loss leader thing to get people interested in checking out the store. I think they're giving away 2 free games every other week or something, or every month if you just sign up. Um, how much of this is a threat to Steam though? Like, should Steam be incredibly worried about
Not
Epic?
now. I think I still I've been saying it for months. Discord is still more of a threat to Steam than Epic. But the difference between Discord and Epic is that Epic has an unreal amount of cash. See what I did there?
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah.
Some would say it's a Fortnite amount of cash.
Yeah. So, and it's not just that they've got Fortnite; they're also leveraging the Unreal Engine as well, and they're being like, launch Epic Game Store will subsidize Unreal Engine for you, or something, some kind of deal like that. So, like, whereas Discord has a lot of eyeballs, the Unreal platform has like they have the engine aspect, and they also have they have lots of established developer relationships through the sales of the Unreal Engine, and also they've got shitloads of cash money to play with. So, um, in that case, maybe Epic Games can be a big threat to Steam. And I've been saying on Twitter that Steam, quite honestly, needs some legitimate competition. They desperately need some competition because Steam has stagnated over the years with like it's full of crapware. It's like the curation is terrible. The launch has barely changed in a million years, and that's reflected in the fact that most people have moved over to Discord for their communities and stuff now because Steam chat is really, really crappy, and stuff like that. So they have stagnated from the lack of competition, and also like they haven't bothered to make Left 4 Dead 3. They haven't bothered to make Half-Life 3. Obviously, they don't really bother making any sort of big games now. All they care about is games that try and grab your engagement, like Dota and that stupid Hearthstone ripoff, which is already tanked apparently. So they need competition. So on that basis, I'm happy to welcome the Epic Game Store. But on the flip side, the way they're sort of money hatting devs and then leaving them like hanging them out to dry to explain to their fans why, where did XPA go for Ashen, and where did, like in Coffee Stain's case, like why is this game now exclusive to Epic Games? Like the way they handled that, and they wouldn't let the devs communicate with their fans. I think that was garbage, and it kind of reflects on a lack of experience on the part of Epic Games. And my hope is that it is just lack of experience and not arrogance. Because if a company with as much money as Epic Games comes into this industry, and if they are successful, and if they do remain arrogant, that's going to be bad for the industry. You know?
Yeah, yeah, of
So
course.
I mean, if they're developers, I mean, it's great that they're sort of pushing Microsoft and Steam and Sony as well, I guess, to try and give developers a better cut of the money. That's a great thing, you know. And if they're trying to push cross-platform play as well with the Unreal Engine updates today, they come baked in with cross-platform mechanics for Steam, for PlayStation, for Xbox. It all comes baked into the Unreal Engine now, so developers have to do less work and stuff like that. All that stuff is really great, but they can't treat gamers like they're just some sort of incidental thing, you know. And I feel like that is potentially what could happen when a company with Epic Games just comes in, has all this money, and they can do whatever they want and feel like they can get away with it because they've captured this sort of they've captured the imagination of an entire generation with Fortnite, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping they do it in an ethical way.
Well, I mean, I'm always for more competition, and Steam has dominated PC gaming for so long.
Yeah.
Clearly, like if this does gather momentum, I mean, we're already seeing Steam change their royalty payouts, so that's a plus,
Yes.
and to developers, But like, I'm not really a fan of what happened with Ashen. Uh,
Yeah.
it reminds me a little bit of like Xbox versus PlayStation. Like, we're gonna money hat some stuff over here, and we're gonna money hat some stuff over here, which I guess is something they have to do to get people to check out their store. But I mean,
Mm.
this will just make Steam work harder and Epic work harder, and at the end, I know PC gamers though, like they hate uh, like new launchers, right?
It
They,
is
because
getting
they
ridiculous. Like I've got the BattleNet launcher for Hot Heroes
yeah,
of the Storm. I've got Steam for Stellaris Megacorp, which I wanted to talk about during the segment, but I didn't. But yeah, I've been playing Stellaris a lot lately, and obviously I play that through Steam. And then you've got like the Microsoft Store, which is baked in, and then you've got like Epic Games Store. You've got Ubisoft UPlay,
you got
EA's
EA,
Origin,
yeah,
and then Bethesda have announced that Rage 2 will not be
yep.
coming to Steam, but that you have to download the Bethesda launch for that one.
It's
So
like, geez, like they all these launchers, right? But it would be interesting to see if this affects Microsoft and Sony and the royalties they give out. But
yeah,
maybe
no,
not because
they it's a bit different with them because they have like these closed platforms, and the consoles are subsidized
yeah,
by the cut they make from the licensing sales. It's like, yeah, we'll sell the console at a loss or very, very little profit, like 1%, 1% to like 10% profit or whatever. And then we'll it's a loss leader, right? It's like printers. You sell the printers for cheap and then make the money back on the ink. And it's the same for games consoles. You sell the consoles for relatively cheap and then you make the money back
well,
on
yeah,
the
you,
game
you
sale.
you don't either you take a loss in the console or you maybe make $2, but the money's not in the console. The console is just a gateway to make money. It's the games and the services, which one of the big services Microsoft is focusing on is Game Pass. And Phil Spencer had some interesting things to say about Game Pass. And this is the segment where, uh, been looking forward to talking about this with you for a while. Phil said basically Game Pass coming to PC, which we know about, right? Obviously, to make their Windows 10 offering look a little bit better, get people to check out their store,
Mm.
which I don't think it's going to do very much, Jez. I'm still very, what's the term? Bullish? Am I bullish on when the Windows store? Or
Skeptical.
I'm incredibly skeptical that Microsoft can do anything in that space that anybody on the PC cares about. But he mentions that it'll eventually go to every device, and of course, this has led to a lot of debate on what every device actually means. Does every device mean your phone? Yes, your Android phone, 100%, right? They've mentioned Android phones before,
And
but
Google can't stop them putting
right.
it on Android either
However,
because they have a
I've
monopoly.
I've never heard Microsoft, when talking about xCloud and all this stuff, mention iOS at all.
I tell you why that is. It's because it's against Apple's policy to allow other stores on their store.
That's right. So when this eventually launches, whether it's, I know they're doing a beta for it next year, it's going to be on Android phones, but more than likely, it's not going to be on iOS, right?
Yes, it won't be on
And
iOS to begin with, but I have heard that iOS is in the roadmap.
is in the what?
So
The roadmap
in the
for
roadmap,
eventually down the road?
yes, because um, you have to remember that yeah, Apple and Microsoft are rivals in a lot of ways, but they're also partners in a lot of ways too. And there are concessions Microsoft can give to Apple to make sure that xCloud can survive on iOS in much the same way Netflix does, right? There's there are concessions that can be made, bespoke deals that can be cut. Like Steam Link for Steam disappeared off iOS. That's because Steam basically has nothing it can offer to Apple in order to leverage that onto their platform. Whereas Microsoft does have things they can leverage to Apple to get xCloud onto iOS, like in Office and stuff like that. Because who the hell wants to use Apple's
Well, the
productivity
question
tools?
is,
Nobody.
Peter Young says Android phones are 80%, 87% of the world's market, for phones. Does
Yes.
Microsoft even need iOS?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter about the market share. It matters who spends the money. And
That's
I'm
true.
telling you now, nobody spends money on Android phones. Android is terrible for developers making money. Whereas
So people spend money on iOS.
people spend money on iOS. They spend money in droves on iOS, and
All
like
right.
that's like that Android market share figure comes from like your cheap Android handsets and all those other Android sort of devices. Whereas like if you're a developer, really you want your app on iOS, really, and that's where you're gonna make the big money. And so Microsoft will, they want it on the iPad, they want it on the iPhone. They don't just want to restrict it to Android phones, and I think they'll be able to cut a deal with Apple to make that happen. In much the same way Netflix probably had to cut a deal, because in a way Netflix directly competes with iTunes, right? Because Apple sells movies and stuff through their store,
Yeah.
but somehow they managed to cut a deal for
They managed to.
Spotify.
Yeah. Money talks, as you say,
Money
right?
talks, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, shout out to Mega Batsy. He says, I can't wait for Xbox to announce a proper Xbox handheld, Switch style.
that's interesting.
I mean, I I know for people that like the portable aspect of it, and maybe to go along with the xCloud stuff, a portable Xbox device makes sense. But I mean, is it in the works? You know,
I've been hearing weird things about that.
weird things. But moving on, because we obviously can't really elaborate on weird things. But yes, the Ravenflow's
I
right.
actually can elaborate on weird things.
Okay, really, really quickly. We have like 330 people watching. I think we had up like 370. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Do me and Jez a favor. Show some love to the podcast. Hit it up. Subscribe if you're new, if this is your first time here. And all right, we'll elaborate. So, Xbox handheld Switch style. Is it maybe a folding Surface phone that'll be Xbox branded? Give me the deets, Jazz. What's going on?
Well, I've heard that. I haven't heard. Well, I don't know. I've been hearing weird rumors that Microsoft might be exploring making a handheld device like the Switch. But one thing I do know for a fact is that OEMs like Razer and others are exploring making peripherals that will basically make Xbox gaming better on your phone and stuff. So imagine like a special Razer dock for your phone that is sort of like an Xbox controller, that sort of thing. I do know that OEMs are working on that stuff.
Hmm.
So Microsoft isn't just gonna throw this out onto touch controls and let it go. They know that touch controls is a garbage way to play games. And they need to be to make this console quality a console quality experience like Phil Spencer described it. It needs tactile controls, it needs joysticks, it needs a D-pad, it needs triggers, and they know that, and I know that companies are working on those accessories for phones and stuff like that. So you might not even need an Xbox handheld, you might just need a dock for your phone or something like that.
Right.
So keep
But
an eye
of
out for that.
course, the bigger, I mean, I guess people like the console war aspect because it always goes back to this for whatever reason. When people hear every device, they think PlayStation and Switch. Am I going to be able to play Halo 6 and Gears 5 by just logging into my PlayStation 5 one day, loading up my Xbox Game Pass app that hits up and spins up the Xbox Cloud on the PlayStation 5, and streaming, Halo essentially on my PlayStation? Same thing for the Switch. Um, I think personally, I believe Phil Spencer when he says they literally want to be on every device. I think he literally means every device. Like there's, you know what I mean? Uh,
He does mean that.
he does mean that.
I'll tell you straight up, right now. He means every device.
Yes.
He doesn't mean just Microsoft devices. He means every device,
Every device that they can
like
possibly get
Office.
on. But of
Yeah.
course, just like we were talking about with Apple, each of these other companies have their own business strategies and their own business dealings they have to deal with. PlayStation may not want Xbox on PlayStation at all. They may not want that app. While Nintendo Switch, I honestly feel at some point you'll be able to load up your Nintendo Switch, grab it off the dock, and just access an Xbox Game Pass app from your Nintendo Switch and play Xbox games on it at some point.
Xbox is already on Nintendo Switch with Minecraft. The API stack is up
right
now on your Switch. You can log into Xbox Live on your Switch when playing Minecraft. So I'd be happy to put money down that xCloud will hit Nintendo Switch someday. Like you, it's like whether it hits PlayStation or not depends.
Well, yeah, whether it hits, yeah, that's all on Sony, and you could make the case for both. Like Sony is very much, they don't really want competition for their own stuff on the PlayStation. They have PlayStation Now, which is a streaming service, download service, very much like Game Pass. And they don't want competition for that on their store, which is exactly what would be Xbox Game Pass is. And they already don't allow EA Access, a very similar service. So if Microsoft presented that to them, Sony may be like, no, we're not going to let you be on here. We're not going to let you just easily access 90 million of our users and have them all create Xbox Live accounts and spend money on your platform, increasing your monthly active users, so you can take that information and go and get better deals from third parties because you have more people on your platform. We're not interested in helping you out. The other crux of the argument is that if Sony allowed it, then that gives people a less reason to buy an Xbox, right? Because if you can just buy a PlayStation to play all the third-party games and all the Sony's exclusives, but then also have the ability to play Xbox games through Game Pass, then those customers have no reason to ever think about buying an Xbox ever again. And it keeps them in that ecosystem, even if they're spending some of their time on Xbox Live, which I would imagine Sony would get a cut of some sort of money, right?
And actually that'd make Microsoft happy because, as we know, services have better margins than the hardware. So what is worse for Microsoft is if someone buys an Xbox and then they don't buy any games.
Yes.
That is really bad for Microsoft because that means they've sold an Xbox unit, potentially made a loss on that Xbox, and then not made any money back on the console. Whereas if they don't sell an Xbox and people buy the service on PlayStation, then that's good for Xbox, but it's also good for Sony too, because it means in Sony's hardware-centric business model that someone's not buying an Xbox because they're just using the service to play the odd game.
See, the thing is, I don't think Sony's going to allow it, regardless.
I still don't either. But
I don't think so. And I already see people in chat saying, we have Ravenflow saying Microsoft is working their way out of console. We have Carissa saying they no longer wish to produce Xbox consoles, Rand. I think
that's bullshit.
Like ultimately, and when I say ultimately, I mean 15 years from now. I do think 15 years from now, the goal is to not have consoles, but that doesn't necessarily go for Xbox. That goes for literally PlayStation as well, right?
Maybe.
But for the foreseeable future, next generation and the generation after that, like they're going to be consoles, because like you can look at it like this. What is xCloud really? It's streaming. Is everybody on board with streaming? No, of course not. Right? It's going to be a cheap entryway. You're going to be, you have phone. Everybody has phones, as the Diablo people know, or you got phones, right? Everybody's got a PC. Everybody has TVs. I'm assuming Microsoft will try to get an app for Game Pass on TVs, on smart TVs and stuff. And it's a streaming thing. Man. But not everybody has the data caps for that or the good internet for that, right? So like the obviously is like, if you want the real experience, you have to get a console or you have to use Windows 10 on the PC, right? That's kind of like the if or type of thing. Like, yeah, you could stream Halo 6 on your TV, but it might not be that good, but then you could just play it normally on your console. I think they're going to I think they're both going to produce consoles for quite some time. In fact, we know they are. I mean, Jez knows. We talked. He mentioned the Brad Sams thing. They already said they're making the next Xbox consoles. I think people just get a little bit worried with streaming, and they think Microsoft, especially with this talk of putting Game Pass everywhere, that Microsoft is literally be like one day going to be like, by the way, guys, done with consoles, had a good run. We are a third-party publisher like Sega now, right? Isn't that the irrational fear that people have?
I think that's the irrational fear some people have, and the hope that some fanboys have.
Well, okay, yes, there are very much a lot of fans from the PlayStation and Nintendo side that hope that this is Microsoft leaving, and that that their games will appear on Sony and Nintendo. Even though I've heard from these guys for the last couple of years, Xbox has no games, so what games would be put on? So, I don't know. It's weird. Either way, um, I still feel that when Mike,
I think the truth is that it's like Surface, right? Surface doesn't need to exist. It's expensive. It's over-engineered, frankly, but it's the best Windows experience you can get. It is the best. If you want the best Windows experience, it's pretty much lives on Surface. I mean, there are very good laptops out there that are cheaper, that maybe even have better specs, but like when it comes to build quality and the sort of harmony between the software and the hardware, Surface is unbeatable, man. I don't care what anyone says. Surface laptops are the best Windows laptops in the world, and it's going to be like that for Xbox, man. It's going to be like, yeah, you can get Xbox Game Pass, and it's going to offer a decent experience. I mean, xCloud, and we hope it's going to offer a decent experience. It ain't going to be 4K. It might not even be 1080p. It might be like it might be like 720p with artifacts, and it's not going to be the best experience. Whereas the Xbox One X will offer the best experience of those games. So it's kind of like Surface. If you want the premium experience with no need for blowing up your internet or whatever and have local experience, if you want to collect the games and have them like in the box on your shelf, they'll still offer that experience in much the same way that you can still buy vinyl records. If you want to have them all nice and pretty on your shelf, you want to buy those like collector's edition things and stuff like that. I think they'll always offer that experience. Surface doesn't need to exist, but they still do it. They still do it because they can and they're good at it. And they'll still make Xboxes just because they can and they're good at it.
look, I mean, the reality of the situation is that the console itself isn't as important to Microsoft as it once was, right?
It's just not as important in general because
it's still incredibly important to Sony.
Yeah,
clearly, right? But I'm saying that the moment Microsoft said Xbox Play Anywhere and you can play all the Xbox games on your PC, lets you know that they're like, okay, the console isn't as important. The idea of Game Pass through xCloud being on phones, being on TVs, potentially being on the Switch is them telling you, look, the console isn't that, the console's for the people that want the console. It's not that incredibly important to us. What's important to us is Xbox Live growing, monthly active users going up, raking in money from everywhere else, reaching 2 billion gamers when we can only reach, 80 million tops with the 360? That's what importance to them. The importance to them is the growth, the investment. And I don't know, like,
the thing is that they realized this with Windows too, is that they're fighting for attention with a sort of a cloud of different distractions, basically. Like I can't get like you see this in Japan, right? Consoles are in decline in Japan because the whole mobile phone distraction and stuff like that. And this is a way to sort of target those sort of casual gamers who are distracted by Candy Crush and they're distracted by Angry Birds and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that xCloud is suddenly going to turn a generation of people into hardcore gamers, but it's something, it's something that a console just can't do.
Okay, interesting question. Lol245 says, Rand, why should I care about this as a gamer? You shouldn't. That's the whole thing. The only people that care about this are the ones really deep into the console war, the ones that are like, if a game is only good if it's only on my platform, right? Because with God of War, if God of War was on PC, would it not just be as good as it was? Of course. Like, so if you're just in it for the games, just play the games and play them wherever you want to play them. If that's the PlayStation, play it there. If it's the Xbox, play it there. If it's the PC, play it there. If you want to play on your phone, play it there. Like, as a gamer, as someone who just enjoys games, none of this really matters at all. Some people want to know the strategy that Microsoft is implementing or trying to do, which is what we, talk about here on the show. But at the brass tacks, and the majority of people don't care. The majority of people, all they want to do is play with their friends in Fortnite or Madden or Call of Duty. And if that's on PlayStation, so be it. And if it just so happens to be on Xbox, then whatever. You know what I mean? This only really matters to like people. What's the right word for it, Jez? I don't know. If all you care about are the games, none of this should matter. Like, in specifically Xbox, like there'll be more games coming from Xbox next gen than they put out this gen. Like, Microsoft is clearly invested on providing content. Now, whether or not that content's going to be any good is anybody's guess. I think it will be, as they've required some good studios. But if you're an Xbox gamer, it's like the games will come and they'll be in more quantity than before, clearly, as Microsoft is finally investing in their first party. And if you're a PlayStation gamer, then PlayStation has you covered. And the third parties are going to be on both. So you just matter of where you want to play. That's all there is to it.
I mean, Microsoft wants to make money, right? But they
That's
also
the goal of any business, to make money.
They want to grow the industry, because growing the industry means they can make more money. And right now, the console industry it's stuck. It's okay. And PlayStation 4 only just took over 360 lifetime sales. Now, some people might say, "Oh, that's really impressive," but to me, that doesn't really. I mean, yeah, the industry's grown, but it's grown. It's grown outward, not upward. It's grown like monetizing the existing base of users has gotten better with microtransactions, with engagement, and all that sort of stuff. But now they want the industry to grow upwards, not just outwards. And to grow it upwards, they need to hit people where they are, which is on phones, which is on their PCs, which is on their web browsers, man. It's like wherever they are. And that's what Microsoft calls the intelligent edge. And that's why Microsoft is now the world's biggest business. And it's because Steve Ballmer's philosophy was Office should be a Windows exclusive to make people use Windows. Microsoft was like, but Satya Nadella and others sort of chimed in with like, well, what if Office was where people are rather than where we wish they were? And then they put Office on iPad, they put it on Android, they put it in a web browser, they put it everywhere, and now Office is like orders of magnitude bigger than what it was, right? It's huge. It's just massive because they grew upwards. They grew the amount of people they could target upwards. And that's what they're going to do with xCloud, right? And
well, that's what they hope they're going to do with it. I still have my doubts, and I've said this to Phil personally. I was like, just because you suddenly have Gears 5 and Ori on devices for people that, for whatever reason didn't want console doesn't make those people want to play those games. Like, for instance, my mom and my sister play Candy Crush every day. They're never in a million years going to play Gears 5 or Halo 6.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this with my girlfriend, right? My girlfriend's got access to all my consoles and all my games, and I've tried getting her to play Diablo, which I consider to be a pretty casual sort of experience, but she's just not a gamer. She's not into those things. She'd rather like browse Instagram or watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. Some people just don't get it. I don't know what it is. And you're right, like xCloud, and like I said earlier, xCloud isn't going to suddenly make a whole generation of extra people gamers overnight. And it's like I've got a cousin, right? She plays World of Tanks religiously, but she doesn't really play anything else. Like, I think she plays a bit of Fortnite here and there, but she's obsessed with World of Tanks. I've tried to get her to play other games, but she won't. You know, she won't play any of the games from World of Tanks. And even though she's got access to do so, and is xCloud suddenly gonna get her to play other games? I don't think so.
Okay, so Ravenflow says it means that they have less reason to buy a console, which shrinks the console market, shrinks the market. Like, here's the thing: that's not
No,
true, because when Google enters the market, they may not be entering with a hardware device,
they won't be entering with the hardware
and
device.
it'll be browser based, it'll be streaming, and they're going to be trying to go for, like, they're going to try to expand the market that way. I
I don't
mean,
understand. How can you possibly say not buying a console shrinks the market? I mean, don't you understand? It's like if you have xCloud wherever you are, that grows the market. That literally grows the market. And that's why Switch is doing so well, is because of its portability and versatility. You can take it anywhere with you, and you can fit it in around your life. And that's part of the idea behind the streaming stuff, PlayStation Now and xCloud, is that you can fit it in around your life. You know, I could play xCloud when I'm on location in a hotel without having to take my Xbox with me, stuff like that. It grows the market it grows the market outwards. Is it going to grow the market upwards in a sense of capturing new gamers and stuff? Probably not. You know, but like as we've seen from Fortnite and Drake, apparently gaming is cool now because of this
yeah.
phenomenon that is battle royale, and that was like battle royale was like a bit of an innovation. And if they can get xCloud to be as convenient as something like Netflix, then I think it could change the way people see games. And you know, maybe it won't, but they have to try. You know, and it's part of the job of a tech company like Microsoft is to innovate and try new things. You know, and they've got all this cloud power, all these data centers across the world, 3 in Germany, I think, maybe 4 now. Why not use it to try and do something like this?
I mean, true. And I wanna reference a question, or maybe a comment from Porterock. He says Microsoft developing and publishing huge AAA games, and somehow people think Satya Nadella will be cool keeping it away from the two platforms that a majority of console gamers like. Me and Jez already said, if PlayStation was going to allow Game Pass and Xbox Live on the PlayStation, then I fully expect an app to be there on both the Switch and PlayStation. But I don't expect PlayStation to want that, as it competes within their own ecosystem, and that is not something Sony would be interested in. Now, I know you've said, and we talked on Twitter, that you think Microsoft will direct publish Xbox games in the future, like EA does on the service. And I don't think that is going to happen. Microsoft isn't interested in that. Microsoft is interested in growing Xbox Live. They're not interested in sales of games, as sales of games don't matter as much to Microsoft in the era of Game Pass anymore, as one game can underperform and another one overperform, and then you have Game Pass, you know, picking up the slack, so to speak. What Microsoft wants is they want the people that are using the playing their games, whether it's on the TV or the phone or the PC or on Xbox or on the streaming device, is literally to be connected to Xbox Live. That is the goal. And the goal is to grow Xbox Live. So a direct published game, maybe a direct published game that accesses Xbox Live on PlayStation now, PlayStation PSN.
A direct published game that is a platform like Minecraft, maybe. But those single player games, nah, no way. There's no value. There's no value in it. It's like It's like value in reverse, right? Like the value for Game Pass is the sort of games that get added to it. And if you've got a single player game which has weak margins because there's no upsell, then no, they're not gonna publish that because the margins ain't good. The margins are good at Minecraft because Minecraft is a platform upon which they can sell additional services and thus make a lot of money. So like Minecraft being everywhere has made a ridiculous amount of money, and Microsoft have made back their investments and all that sort of stuff. And
But even still, Sony backed out on allowing crossplay because they don't want people signing into Xbox Live on PlayStation Network
Yeah, exactly.
to play Minecraft. So I don't like. I agree. Me and Jazz both agree that if Sony would say yes, I fully expect an Xbox Game Pass app to be on PlayStation. I don't expect them to
Definitely.
publish because that's not what Microsoft is trying to do. It's not about sales of games, Porter Rock. That's what I think you're misunderstanding here. It's not about sales of individual games. It's more about the services and everything else than it is about extra. Because if it was about like the sales of games, all their games would be on Steam day one. But it's not about Steam. It's not about like the revenue. It's about getting people into the ecosystem. I mean, and I know you'll say Recore's on Steam, Quantum Break's on Steam, Killer Instinct's on Steam eventually, right? But of course, the common denominator on all those points is all those games are published by or actually made by third-party developers, right? Might be something in the contract when they originally work with Microsoft that says, those games have to go on Steam or whatever. If you notice, like no actual game made by Microsoft first parties on Steam. It's only the games that are done by contracted second party. Does that mean Crackdown 3 is going to come to Steam at some point, Jez, do you think? I mean, all the other games, like Sunset Overdrive came to Steam. Rise came to Steam. Recore came to Steam. Like even like stuff like Zoo Tycoon came to Steam. Like all the games that were done by second parties. Killer Instinct came to Steam.
I don't
At
think
some
Crackdown
point,
will.
you don't think Crackdown will?
Killer Instinct came to Steam because they were trying to boost the numbers. I think. I don't think Crackdown will come to Steam. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Sometimes Microsoft just makes the decisions based on what's a good idea. Putting Killer Instinct on Steam was a good idea and you notice they'll wait till they had crossplay working before they did that. So it's not like it was like Iron Galaxy was like, oh my god, put this on Steam because we want more money out of our contract. It was more like, oh my god, nobody takes Killer Instinct seriously because the Windows Store is a piece of crap, and we want to put it on Steam where all the real PC games are. Whatever. I think that was more the decision there. But it's like with Age of Empires too, right? Age of Empires is on Steam. Age of Empires Definitive Edition is on Steam, and that's because RTS is a hardcore genre, and all the hardcore gamers are on Steam.
Yeah. Anyways, this podcast is actually kind of going quite long, so I know Jez has to get going. It's late for him.
Questions?
You sure you want to take some questions? All right, throw some
Yeah,
questions in their chat. We'll take a few, but
just quickly.
I don't know. The Game Pass thing is interesting because if you take Phil at his word, which I do, and I know he means everything, and I know that means PlayStation. But the thing is, like, I still don't think PlayStation, like, and I know I can see Porter Rock saying he agrees with me that he doesn't think they'll allow Game Pass, but he thinks Sony would allow direct publish. I don't think Microsoft is interested in direct publishing.
I think Sony would allow direct publish because they get a cut, right? But that's Microsoft wouldn't do that because there's less benefit for them to do that. They don't need to do that because it's not like it's not like those games are gonna. I mean, they could put Halo on PlayStation and it'd sell. They could have done that before, but they're not going to do that because there's no value in it for them. The value is getting people paying for Xbox Live, getting them paying for
Game Pass.
That's where the margins are. The margins are in the services. The privilege to play on Xbox Live. That's where the margins are.
Yeah, which is why if it went to PlayStation, it would be a Game Pass app because Microsoft would want you to subscribe and pay constantly instead of just a one-off Halo purchase. But either way, I mean, it's a lot of speculation for some that we may not know happened. But shout out to Warrior, a good friend. I love watching his videos. He says, "What preceded the Big Bang?" Oh man, that's a tough question, Jez. What preceded the Big Bang?
Nachos.
Do single cell organisms have DNA info encoded to evolve into anything? Well, you're getting a little heavy here, Warrior Wart. Like, I didn't think I'd be thinking about this on a Wednesday at 5:15. Um, let's see. Oh, you did mention earlier that you're not sure that Brad Sam's info's correct, Jez, or that you might
I
have
don't know.
differing
I've
info.
heard conflicting info.
So what do you think? What do you think? He said Navi. He said Zen 2 CPU with Navi architecture for the GPU. Are you hearing differently?
Maybe.
Possibly. Well, don't leave us hanging, unless of course you can't say. Then I guess.
I, you might say it on Windows Central in the future.
Okay, we might see it in Windows Central soon. Got it. Faith.
I prefer reporting things when I can show a document.
All right, that's good. All right, so Face, he wants to know what if the Outer Worlds does very good for Xbox and Obsidian, since Microsoft doesn't care about console sales, would they keep Obsidian or other devs to keep their games multi-plat? If Outer Worlds, I mean Microsoft, we kind of talked about that, but Microsoft could purchase the sequel rights from Take Two. Or are you saying if it does well and Microsoft just wants Outer Worlds 2 to be on PlayStation regardless because it sold well?
I mean, it's weird. Microsoft could just decide, kind of like Minecraft, because Minecraft was on PlayStation beforehand and it had a fan base there. Microsoft, like, there'd be like some PR negativity from, there would have been PR negativity from pulling Minecraft from those platforms, right? So obviously they they didn't do that. But Minecraft was more of a platform thing. But when it comes to a single player game, the value is for Microsoft is getting people to subscribe to Game Pass to play that single player game, or getting people to buy an Xbox to play that single player game. So I would presume that they probably would try and make it exclusive rather than publish it themselves on PlayStation. But who knows, man? I mean, we live in strange times.
Fuzzy Belvedere wants to know if Epic is owned by Tencent or do they just have a large share?
I don't think they're owned. I think they just have
No.
a very influential share.
I think it's 30%, maybe?
Yeah, it is a
It's
big share.
it is a big share though. Big. Yes, Peter Young says Brad Sam says it was the next gen AMD architecture for the GPU, which is what most people refer to as Navi. I'm not the most tech oriented guy, but that's what people tell me. And Ned says they own 40%. So,
Ooh, that's a big.
what else we got here? Let's see.
Tencent must make stupid money.
Eric Smith wants to know, you guys have any thoughts on how the majority of Xbox fans hating on Sony's one and done, but now celebrating all these new studios that are known for creating one and dones? Well, the majority of Xbox fans, you mean the super minority? You mean just like the vocal ones here on Twitter that maybe amount to 15 people? You mean you're talking about that majority? You see,
Oh my
it's
god.
funny because people like, let's get one thing straight. The Xbox community here on Twitter and YouTube is incredibly small and has no, I wouldn't call the majority of anything. Like, let's say there's 40 million Xbox consoles out there. You're talking about 20 people at most who say those things. Maybe 100 people, right? And then there's, of course, there's others that don't. So like, I find that laughable when you say majority because it's not the majority. But some of that's the console war stuff. Some of that's just like, hey, Sony does those type of games, single player only. Microsoft tends to do more multiplayer, so I hate one and done. And then when it gets announced that the Microsoft's buying studios that are known for making one and dones, they got to promote and be happy for anything Microsoft does, so they flip flop, and it's very apparent.
I mean, you can spot when someone's a fanboy because they're inconsistent. You know, if someone says one week that Sony's bad for making one-offs or whatever, then and then next week praising Microsoft for doing the same, then it's console insecurity. So, and it works both ways. I see so much insecurity in my timeline From people who literally spend all day of their adult lives worrying about plastic boxes. It's sad.
I mean, yeah, I mean, one and done is used as like, oh my god, one and done. Like one and
It's a
done
bad
is.
thing.
I hate like look, man. Like I
Gatekeeping, man. That's what
I
it's called.
love one and done games as much as I love multiplayer games. They both give unique experiences, and to say one's better than the other is outrageous. It's just that some people love Xbox and hate PlayStation, so they hate one and done games. And then, some people, love PlayStation and say single player games are the only thing that matters and talk about like multiplayer is like insignificant or something.
I
When
feel like genuinely bad for anyone who struggled to leave the high school mentality behind them of the console war. I
say
feel
cake
genuinely depressed for anyone who's an adult who really genuinely passionately cares about that stuff.
Cake Batter says multiplayer versus one and done refers to replay value, a valid discussion. The problem is replay value is entirely subjective to the person playing the game. Someone will get more, value out of a 30-hour single player game than they will out of a multiplayer game.
But
Like
it's like put it this way, right? I love my multiplayer games. I love playing games with friends. I played Monster Hunter World this year. I got about 200 hours in Monster Hunter World. I had an insane amount of fun with my family and friends playing Monster Hunter World. I got some of my best gaming memories of the year out of Monster Hunter World. But I'll tell you right now, the first 10 minutes of The Last of Us made a bigger impression on me than those 200 hours of Monster Hunter World because it's a completely different experience, you know. Like I look back on Final Fantasy VII with like a sort of fondness that I just don't have for Battlefield Bad Company 2, for example. I put like 400 hours into Battlefield Bad Company 2 on Xbox 360 and on PC. I played it on both platforms religiously. But like I don't look back on that game with the same sort of emotional attachment like I do with Final Fantasy 7. And it's because they're completely different experiences. And that's the great thing about gaming. Diversity. There's something for everyone, you know?
yeah, and the Raven because I wanted to talk about this for just a second and reiterate. He says multiplayer games are the highest selling games on PlayStation Rent. Xbox gamers are so also wrong about that. I think you misunderstood my point. My point was how I forget the guy that asked the question about how the majority of Xbox gamers are saying that one and done games are bad, and I said it's like a super small section of people, like 15, right? And like on the flip side, I have those same 20 PlayStation fans that say single player is the only thing that matter, and that multiplayer is, not doesn't matter at all and is garbage. But like you said, multiplayer games sell the most on every platform. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my whole point. I'm not saying like PlayStation fans say that. I'm saying it's those same vocal minority. Like the only games that matter are God of War, Spider Man, and Days Gone. When like who cares about Fortnite and Rainbow Six? You know, it's that stuff. That's what I was referring to. But let's see. Jay Farrell says, "You guys say this, but it'd be podcast chopping up with these same sad, pathetic fanboys." Um, you'd have to say who, though. Like I don't really podcast very very much. Some people ask me to be on, and I'd be on because I'm honored to be asked. I've done podcasts from you know everybody, but like you're still a fanboy. You're still a fanboy. It's just because you're a sad, pathetic fanboy doesn't mean I won't talk to you. You know what I mean? I'll talk to anybody as long as you're respectful. Like, I'll talk if you're a fanboy of PlayStation, we can talk. If you're a fanboy of Xbox, we can talk, but like that still doesn't make me stop thinking you're just a fanboy. It's just it is what it is, man. What up, Fame? How you doing, brother? Anything to add to that, Jez?
It's just like the thing is like some of the people that I know they're talking about, they're just it's just an act.
Yeah, I
And
know.
and like the thing about YouTube is that it's entertainment, right? And some people like they get wrapped up in it and take it too seriously, and yeah, sure. There are fanboys who are YouTubers, but I think like everyone could do with taking it a little less seriously.
That would never happen though, Jez, you know. But
Yeah.
anyways, we all appreciate you guys watching live. We had like 360 people. It was great. We sorry for the week last week. We didn't do it. And we'd appreciate if you hit the like button, as this is going to be the end of the show. Jez, you want to promote anything on Windows Central? You know that little article I'm talking about or something?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, Jez isn't ready to talk about that. So
It's probably going to be New Year. I'm
the
knee
new
deep
year.
in.
Well, you better not get scooped first. You've had that
Oh.
happen recently too, where you got scooped first.
I get scooped.
You sure? You better not get scooped. I'm counting on you.
Better not get scooped.
I did also hear, by the way, that the discless Xbox One is being announced in January. By the way.
Oh. That
What?
makes sense.
Well,
I'll tell you
we'll talk a little bit off air about we'll compare sources and we'll talk about things. But anyways, I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate all the comments. If you're watching later on Google or iTunes, thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week with some more Xbox 2 podcasts. Thank you guys so much. Later.